I love this question. Love it, this question. Because most of the time I get questions about not having money. It's not every day that someone has money and they're like, Andi, where do I? To another video. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. If it is your first time here, Andi, and on this channel, we chat about all things related to managing your money and adulting in general. If that sounds like your type of vibe, please check out our other videos. And if you like what you see, don't hesitate, smash that subscribe button and become a member of the team. So guys, we are in a festive mood now. It is fun times, okay? So I wanted to do a What Would Andi Do episode, the final one for this year. And I thought that why not talk about some of the things that you are deciding on in December, and maybe we could chat a bit about that. So I put up a post on my Instagram as well as my community page, and I said, please let me know what you are struggling to decide on in December, and then I will do a video tackling just that. And that's why we're here, nah? So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. The first question goes, it's been a long year. How are you factoring fun into your budget for the festive season? This is the $1 million question, right? Because this is the silly season, and they don't call it the silly season for nothing, guys. It's because the whole year you work towards these goals, and then just 1 month and it all falls down. Or you've been saving and you tap into stuff that you shouldn't do. How am I factoring fun into the season? So the first thing is, ideally, all of us should have been putting money away during the year into a December goal budget. That's what we spoke about in the beginning of the year. That if you've got a specific goal and you know you want to have a good time and a fun time, or you want to give to family, or you want to spend quality time with family, you should be putting that money away in bits and pieces during the year. So that's what's ideal. And if you did that, then you would be using that for your December, and it doesn't affect anything else, right? So unless you have spender's guilt, which is a completely different topic. So you should have been saving for December. But I'm going to answer this question from the form of, you haven't saved for December. What do you do now? What I've realized, guys, in my finances, right? Because this is a What Would Andi Do, is the fact that I spend a lot of money when I don't plan. Planning has saved me a lot of money, especially during the festive season. What I realized with myself is that if I don't have a plan and I work spontaneously and with the mood, it means that I'm either saying yes to my friends or my family when they come up with ideas because I don't have plans or ideas of my own, or I'm thinking about something the last minute. And if you do that, it means that you don't have a budget for it. It means that you don't know how much it's going to cost. You'll probably find out there. And that's when I end up spending a lot of money. So what I would do in this case is that factoring fun is planning. Plan to the last detail. So right now, I know what I'm doing on the 25th. I know what I'm doing on the 26th, 27th, 28th, right up until after New Year's. And what that does is every single day is planned and catered for, and it has a budget. Most of the days I'm not spending money. I'm just doing other things, but we'll get into that in the other scenarios. So if you plan your days into finer detail, you will control how much money you spend on those days, and you will not tag along on plans that you can't afford or that are creeping up last minute. I know that it might seem like, oh my God, that is so simple, but I'm telling you, that's what stops you from spending an unreasonable amount of money. Is decide now, what are you doing on the 25th? Okay, sharp, you're having lunch with your family. What do you need to buy? Who's contributing what? Who do you need to talk to who's going to be there so they do their share? Is everybody bringing a salad and we're contributing towards the meat? What is the situation? If you plan, you're going to avoid spending a lot of money. So that's what I'm doing this season. I've planned for every single day from the time I'm off until straight after New Year's. That's how I am factoring my fun. The next question, which is also very related, is how does Andi control emotional spending? Yo, this is another serious one, right? Especially around the December season, because we are around family and we feel guilty. We haven't seen them the whole year. So we want to give and we want to contribute. We want to save the world. We want to show up for our family members. We want to support them. We want to show them that we're working hard and that we've made it, whatever the reason may be. But this is the decision. This is the season where we make a lot of emotional decisions. So something that has helped me is that I avoid places circumstances, and people that trigger emotional spending. And I found that there's nothing else that I can do, because emotional spending is very tricky, guys, because you can have a guide, but once you're in that situation with your mom, your dad, your sister, your cousin, your nephew, whatever it is, or your children, there's no telling what will happen. So what I've done is that I've limited the amount of time that I spend in spaces where I end up spending emotionally. For example, I know that when I'm with my husband, I have more control over what we do, and it's very planned, and we also keep each other accountable in terms of what we can do and can't do. So I don't mind spending time with him. If I know that there are spaces, be it friends or family, where when I'm there I tend to spend emotionally and not with reason and beyond my budget, I just avoid those places. Literally, it sounds like, oh my God, but what I've realized is that often we try and find tools to save ourselves in situations when you could just don't cut branches, like cut the trunk, cut it right at the bottom from the foundation. And then, you lose out of that. And I know it's not easy, especially when it comes to family members. But honestly, I don't have something better than that, because it's such a tricky situation that if you keep finding yourself in that situation, I don't think it's easy for your tools and your whatever to work. It's much easier to just remove yourself from that situations. So I limit the time spent in those areas a lot. Does that mean I spend less time now with certain people? Yes. But does that mean that it's better for my emotional well-being because I don't feel guilty, and it's better for my budget and goals because I don't overspend? Yes. And I'm willing to do that. So that's my advice when it comes to that. In a nutshell, just avoid those spaces as much as possible. If you usually go home for 2 weeks and after 1 week it starts getting tricky, cut that to 1 week. If you know that certain groups of friends are at levels that you can't afford, decline or don't go. That's my advice. The second one says, this is an interesting one. I've recently been married, and my husband wants us to spend the first Christmas together as a couple instead of going to his family home in the Eastern Cape. I'm really tempted to dodge the work and ukotiza. What would Andi do? Oh yeah, some people are like okay, let me be honest about this one. Firstly, it's very unusual that this is the case, because I know that most people will expect you, especially if you're a newly wed makoti, to spend Christmas with that side of the family, right? So the first thing I would do is I would ask why. Why don't you want me to spend time with your family? Why don't you want me to go home with you? What is the reason? If the reason is because like there's something at home that he's trying to help me avoid, maybe like a toxic situation or something in the family members that he feels like, is not safe for my well-being or whatever, then I would take his word for it, because he knows better, and I wouldn't go. Because guys, one thing about me, I am not the type of person if people tell me, don't go there, I'm not going to go there. I was not that child who's going to put my hand on the hot stove and check if it's hot. If you tell me it's hot, I'm not going to go there, particularly if it is someone that I love and I trust, who knows better about the situation that I'm getting myself into. I will believe that person and I won't go. So if he's saying that because of a toxic situation that is helping me avoid, then 100% I will not go. I will not push the issue. I just won't go. If he is telling me this because he wants me to like not work and stuff like that, and it's because of vibes, basically, like he just doesn't want me to go because of vibes, then in that case, I will definitely go. And this is me, because I'm one of those people, even though I'm of a modern generation, I really believe that part of being married is building ubhlobo with the family. And that is something that's important to me. It has nothing to do with my partner and who I'm married to and what they expect of me. I just think it's the right thing to do, and it makes me feel good. So I would tell him, no, babe, it's fine. Let me go home, especially for the first few Christmases, guys. I feel like it's probation period. Especially for the first few Christmases, I would want to spend it with them and get to know them a bit better, build a relationship and stuff like that. And you build relationship through quality time and doing things together. And I feel like the festive seasons are what for me have really helped me tap into my extended family and my immediate family and stuff like that. So I would take advantage of that season and I would go and I would convince him to go. But that's if he just doesn't want me to go for vibes. There's no real reason behind it. I would say, can I please go? Let's rather shorten it. Let's go on the 24th. Let's come back on the 26th, something like that. But yeah, that's what I would do. The next one says, I am the eldest at home with 2 kids. Christmas has always been my responsibility, even though my mom can afford to help me. My younger sister now helps a little, but she's used to me taking care of everything. So she's a bit more relaxed. If I don't take initiative, my kids will suffer, and that is my concern. Okay. So I think that, okay, so it sounds from the situation like you have a very good relationship with your family. And the only thing is the financial side of it that is preventing you from spending Christmas with them, which I think is actually a bit easier than being with or having family members who you don't want to spend Christmas with because of toxic behavior, because of your mental health and all of those things. So I know it's not easy, but I think it's slightly easier than dealing with what I've just mentioned now. In this case, and if this is the case, what I would do is I would plan what I would like to do for Christmas. So I know you mentioned that you're afraid that your kids won't have a good Christmas if you don't contribute. That means that in your head, you have an idea of what Christmas and the days around it should look like. So I would come up with a plan of what I would like to do on those days. Like I mentioned earlier, what are we doing on the 23rd? What are we doing on the 24th, 25th, 27th, 28th? That type of vibe, depending on how long they are there. Then I would, in the plan, start listing the things that I needed for each of those days. And once I have a solid plan, I would just meet my sister and my mom and whoever else is concerned and be like, hey guys, so the kids are going to be home for Christmas. This is what I would like to happen. And obviously you guys are going to be there as well, which means that, you know, it's going to be at a bigger scale. And this is what I would really appreciate from you to make this happen. You come with the plan, you come with the requirements, and you make a clear ask. You're not mentioning, hooray, the past 3 years, I've been paying for Christmas, I've been doing this and that, and you guys have been slacking, and now I'm finding myself in this position. None of that. You approach this with dealing with Christmas and Christmas in 2023 and nothing else, okay? So that is what I would do. I would do that. Then their response is, okay, sharp, we'll help you, ideal. Or they say, no, we don't think we can help you, blah, 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 blah. Then my next thing would be, okay, cool, if we can't do this, what can we do at a slightly smaller scale where you are able to contribute, right? Because maybe it's my list or requirements that's making things a bit difficult. And then if they say, okay, sharp, cut this, cut that, let's do this instead, and then we'll contribute. Second ideal. The last awkward moment is if they say that, no, like they don't want to do anything and they don't want to contribute. I think then I would make them understand that I would really like my kids to have this kind of Christmas, and it's important to me that you guys are part of it. But if you can't help me at all, I would still like my kids to have this Christmas, and maybe I need to then consider this Christmas with them directly, meaning yourself and the 2 kids have your own family Christmas traditions. It doesn't have to be this year because it's quite tight and short notice. It can be next year where you start spending Christmas with your children because your family is just not willing to meet you halfway in terms of making it happen. I don't think it's fair to compromise the type of Christmas you would like to have for your kids because you need to pay for more. And at the same time, I don't think it's fair to put the burden on your family and force them to contribute towards your ideal Christmas. So I feel like put it forward, ask for suggestions, or just do it on your own. It won't be easy. And it's not great because you sound like you enjoy your family's company. But I feel like if I was your sister and you first gave me the option and gave me a second option, like I said, and then decided that, you know what, it's not working, you out, I would be more understanding for those reasons. I hope that helps. The next one is, I've had this person said, long year with my partner, and I've managed to save some money for a getaway, but nothing has been booked yet. I feel like the money could be better used elsewhere now, like home renovations, for example, but I really do need the break and the money is there. What would Andi do? Story of my life, guys, where I save money for a specific goal, something that I really want and something that's close to my heart. And then all of a sudden, when it's time to spend the money, I feel like the money could be used elsewhere. I swear, like, this is something that I'm currently recovering from. I'm not perfect at it, but I feel like I've made great progress, which is cool. So the first thing is, I definitely sense a bit of spender's guilt here. And I think I have a video on that. I do. I think I have a video on that. If I do, I'll link it in the cards, right? But let's look at this situation. First of all, well done on saving towards a getaway with your partner for December. That is amazing. You were disciplined and you deserve to have a little fun. But at the same time, you're not going to have that fun if you're feeling guilty about deterring from your other goals. And I think what worries me the most about this is the fact that you haven't made any bookings and we're in December now and you want to go away in December. That means you haven't booked flights that are probably expensive now. You haven't booked your accommodation that has gone up. So this holiday is now going to be more expensive depending on where you were going than it was supposed to be. So the first thing that I would do is I would definitely not use all of the money, right? But I would also meet my goals halfway in terms of finding something slightly reasonable. For example, it's late now to be booking accommodation and flights and stuff, and things are very expensive, but it doesn't stop you from doing a short left drive outside of Johannesburg or outside of wherever you are. I'm not sure where you're based, to be honest, but just doing a short drive instead of flying out. Or if you were doing a short drive, instead of a short drive, do, 2 day trips, something like that, like at a lighter scale. So what Andy would do is I would use half the money for my trip and find something more affordable, and then use the other half of the money to start my next goal. And I know some of you are going to be like, but Andy, you saved for December and now you're using. The thing is, I know myself, and if this person is me, I will not enjoy that holiday to my full capacity if I feel like there's another goal that I've got zero on at the moment. So if you've got zero on that goal, split the money. If you've made good progress on the other goal, then please do spoil yourself, because guys, that's also important in keeping ourselves sane. And I want you guys to know that for the festive season, like, spoil yourself, relax, put your feet up, thank yourself, especially if you've, been making good progress with your goals. And even if you haven't, but you've been trying, and there's some effort put in there, you also need to reward yourself for that. So that's what I would do. I would honestly split the money, put some towards a head start on my goal next year, and also take some and do a short left, a local trip, depending. Maybe you wanted to go international, you can do local. Maybe you wanted to do local, you can do a drive. There's always like creative things that you can do in order to have a bit of fun, but maybe not to this extent. And there's staycations as well, guys. There's like lots of options. Okay. The next one says, I'm receiving my 13th check in December, as well as my stokvel money. I don't have kids, so January is not as hectic on my side. I don't want to not know what happened to this money like the other years. What would Andy do with extra money? I love this question. Love it, this question. Because most of the time I get questions about not having money. It's not every day that someone has money and they're like, Andy, where do I put my money? What do I do with it? So I have a order of priority when it comes to money. My like top 3 or 4 things that I do with money whenever there's extra cash. And what that does is that every time I have extra money, I just follow this order that's already built in. And then it allows me to, keep in line with what I'm trying to do, almost like a skeleton or a template of some sort. And it's in my head. The first thing I do when I have extra money is I check if my credit card has a balance that I have not settled. I don't have clothing accounts and personal loans and stuff, so it's just credit card. If you've got personal loans and store accounts and stuff, then you need to consider that in overdrafts. So I check, does my credit card have a balance? If it does, I'm throwing it in there first. My credit card hardly has a balance because I paid off before payday, right? Before I accumulate interest. So it hardly has a balance. But if it does, and I come to extra cash from like side hustles and stuff, I throw it in there and then zero. I owe nothing on my credit and I don't have any bad debt. That's the first tick. The reason for that is because having bad debt is expensive because of the high interest rate. So if I leave that accumulating interest and I put my money elsewhere, I'm not going to earn in that elsewhere what I am paying on my debt. So it makes no sense for me to take that money to a savings account. They're going to give me 4% a year while I'm paying this bank 27% on my credit card. So I always make sure that I start there. Then secondly, once I'm done there, I look at my savings account. It can be a savings account. You can be calling it emergency fund, whatever you're calling it. I know it's my emergency fund. If anything were to happen, like my tire bursts, I need to pay access to fix my car, I don't know, like things that happen my mom is not feeling well, or I need to send money home unexpectedly, anything like that, do I have money to bail me out? Do I have bail me out money, right, in my savings account? Like if ish were to hit the fan. And if I do have money and it's enough, great. If I don't, I throw some in there as well. Before I do other things, I throw some into that bucket, because what normally trips us when it comes to finances is the things that are unplanned and unexpected, where you think you're doing all the right things, you're investing, you're insured, and all of those things. And then life happens and you need 1,000 Rand. Next thing you know, you need to borrow 1,000 Rand from the bank at a high interest rate, which is not cool at all. So I always look like, do I have oopsie money? Do I have, if ish hits the fan kind of money? And what does that savings account look like? If it looks bad, I throw in money there. If it doesn't look bad, great, I can move on. After I move on, I then look at, okay, cool, what are some of my short-term goals? For example, renovations, finishing the house, what else could be there? I don't know, taking a local trip and all of those things. Then I put the money there in my personal goals, but in that order. If my personal goals are being funded well and I'm consistent, then I go into long-term investing, guys. And the tricky thing is, every time someone has extra money, they want to start in long-term investing. But if the problem with that is, if you start in long-term investing and all these other three things are lacking, you're going to withdraw that investment before time and try and fill the other buckets. So that's why I start there. I start with the other three things, make sure I'm sharp, and then I go to long-term investing. So tax-free investment account, you guys know, I always fill that first. That's my first go-to. I already have specific investments in that account. I just like split the money. Let's say I've got 3,000 Rand, 1K to that fund, 1K to that fund, 1K to that fund, done, right? And other investments as well. So that's the order that I follow. Every time I've got extra cash, side hustle, gig, speaking engagement, whatever, I look at that order. How's this bucket looking? It's great. How's this bucket looking? It's good. That bucket, it's lacking. I'm going to throw it there. And I always throw money in that order. And the cool thing about this is that, this is the last one, right? Yeah. The cool thing about this is that as I fund these different buckets in that order, my first two buckets are always fine. And then I can start looking purely at the third and the fourth bucket. You get what I mean? Because I'm not going to fund my emergency fund forever. I'm not going to keep paying, my credit card. So now whenever I get money, I can focus on investments because everything else is cool. And that's how I work whenever I have extra cash. Thank you so much for joining me and watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give me a huge thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, consider subscribing as well so you can become a member of the team. Bye, guys.